check. Can everybody see and hear me well? If the moderator can just,
Yeah,
unmute.
we can.
Okay.
We are
Yeah,
able to
we
see.
can.
Okay, fantastic. Welcome everyone. Welcome to this India Cloud Security Summit, where I'll be doing the first session of today. But before we get into the session, which aims to be, an introduction to the security at the Microsoft Cloud, it's aimed to be like 40-45 minutes where I'll be showing you a lot of stuff. But then at the end, all the other speakers will go deep dive into those sessions. So today's session is to give you the broad scope of what Microsoft is offering and what you can get to secure the whole environment. Before we get to that, I'd like to thank the sponsors. Those sponsors slide is mainly the I think the most important slide, because without Microsoft, Hubfly, Pantera Technologies, Ozcifci 365, the tech platform, and Quizcom, I don't think we would be able to do these sessions, those events. They are here for us. They sponsor us. So a big thanks for all of those people. The official hashtag for this event is ICSS 2021, and you also have the official account that you can follow for all the latest updates on Twitter. So I highly encourage you to go and check there as well. A few events, a few prizes that you can win: a Lenovo Tab and an Echo Dot, third generation. So please go and check for those prizes. And the only way to win that is to actually, at the end, I will show that as well, is you get the code from the session, and then you can submit some feedback about the session, and every submission will make you a chance to win those prizes. Also, a humanitarian slide. Please also contribute to this Yod Ubal Foundation, where you can actually eliminate the hunger. And I'll be also donating some dollars to this as well as a speaker, because this is a global issue. It's not only from people from there, but this is a global issue. And I do promise that I will also donate some dollars to this association as well. Okay. That being said, welcome to the session, which is called Introduction to M365 Security, where you will see a lot of configuration, managing, and monitoring. My name is Gokan Ozcifci, and I'm a Microsoft Regional Director and MVP working for Neoxy. Gokan is my Twitter handle, so everyone in this session, please open Twitter and check for my Twitter, and go follow and check for the latest updates about SharePoint, Teams, security, anything about the M365 stack. Well, you will be seeing me tweeting around that. I wasn't that active because I just came in from vacation, but from September 1st, we will start again promoting, doing a bunch of stuff with those ecosystem artifacts. This session today is divided in 4 steps. The first, we will see the M365 service landscape. We will see how Microsoft is talking about security and what they propose to us. Then we will definitely see the unique approaches for the security challenges, what's the challenges of today, and how you can mitigate those challenges, how and which services can we use to help us achieving the best in our security compliances. Then pricing, and at the end, hopefully questions and answers. And this session is, as I mentioned, 40-45 minutes. So we should stop early enough so you can guys take a break and go for the bathroom, etc. before the second session, which hopefully will be more deep dive. So what you need to understand and know is that there is a new culture of work. The pandemic has helped a lot, but Microsoft, with the mobile first, cloud first era, is also helping a lot with that. A new way of work, a new culture of work that is increasingly diverse, geographically distributed, and mobile, and which is extremely complex. Today, everyone with their mobile device, with maybe their unmanaged mobile device, can connect to the Microsoft Cloud, get data from the data center, and even upload this through any unmanaged service to their on-premises environments. This is extremely complex to manage, but hey, it's possible. Why? Because we have the mobile first, we have the pandemic going on, and we always want to aim as organizations to give the best and the easiest way to collaborate for all people into organizations. And this is something really interesting to know, even organizations with tremendous amount of security budgets, well, they are struggling to understand the modern threats, because hackers, they don't wait. Hackers, they don't, care about, oh, do they have the latest security infrastructure, or do they use DLP? Well, they don't care. They don't wait. They will every single day try to come and get your data, try to come and get any sensitive data. And organizations, well, they struggle. They don't understand, or they don't get the latest innovations from the security perspective of M365. And today's session is to show you all of those new capabilities. But before we get into those, what we can do, it is good to understand that actually a few numbers. The first one is that we have 4.2 billion, it's not million, it's billion of records compromised every year. And those stacks, well, those numbers, they come from Microsoft. It's not something that I did invent, but that's something that literally comes from Microsoft. Between the infiltration and the detection, there is an average of more than 140 days. There is a fantastic code that says, and I can't remember who said that before, but which said, you have two kind of organizations, those who know that they're being infiltrated and those who don't, right? And there is an average of more than 140 plus days between the knowledge of, am I being infiltrated, and the real detection. 50% of growth in electronic data. 45% of organizations lacks on governance, leaving them open to mitigation, litigation, and data security tasks. And this, the last one, is actually a shame for everyone, is that 87% of senior managers admit to work using personal accounts for work. So meaning that they're using a Google Drive or a Google account or Amazon or Facebook or anything to do that professional work, which is a big shame. And we need to change that culture. We need to change that asset from everyone to be secure and safe in the organizations. A few trends. Everyone wants to work fluidly with the modern expectations, right? We all love Microsoft, and that's the reason why we are here. We want to collaborate without barriers. We don't care about a VPN. We don't care about a pin code. We don't care about how many firewalls and network routes you have. I just want to collaborate. I just want to do my work, and I want to have my services being continued and without any issue. So that's the trend of any organizations. However, you have a lot of challenges. Risk management is a challenge in M365. Information overloading and management complexities is a challenge. And to be honest, today, and I really hope there is no one from Microsoft in the session, but security is becoming more and more complex at Microsoft. They are changing the admin centers, they are making things extremely complex. The licensing part is already a huge chapter for you to understand what you can do, when you can do, and how you can do. But hey, those are the challenges, right? And those are the two funny things I'd like to show you as well, is to give you the insight at this first session that security is not a joke. Security is not something that you can just put aside, and the first image clearly shows it, that you don't have money before the breach, but then when you have a breach, well, then every penny that you have in the organization goes to the security. This is not the way on how you should deal with it. This is not how you should do it. Or on the right side, you can see a picture from a planet on 35 million miles away, or a picture of 100 years ago, or a security picture. That's not good. Security is capital, and you will understand that security is capital when you will have a breach or when you will lose data. But please don't come up to that. Do great stuff before having those breaches. Microsoft, the 4 pillars of Microsoft, when they do on security, they will provide you industry-leading protection for your information. It's not their information, it's your information, and they will give you that. It's easy to manage with intuitive advanced controls, which is literally true, because with a few clicks you can do it. You will get a lot of insights due to AI, which is behind the security tools, and you can get up to date with the evolving compliance, getting the checklist, getting all the insights around that. So all that is provided by Microsoft to you. But before we understand what and how we can secure environments, you need to understand what M365 is, because a lot of people still don't get the difference between Office 365, M365. They don't get the difference between what SharePoint and Teams is. So I think it's extremely important to let you know that M365 is the following. You get the wheel with all the services that are running for you, from SharePoint to OneNote to Delve to Sway to Planner, etc., etc. So all of those suites, they make Office 365 for you. If you run Windows 10 as a service and add the extension capabilities such as Power Apps, Power BI, Power Automate with the data gateway connectors, add the mobility and security aspects connected through Azure, add the graph connected to Azure AD Active Directory, or maybe even Azure AD Active Directory Connect, well, you can manage the users. This is the image of what M365 means, and this is how you should also understand it. M365 is not only SharePoint and Teams. That's not true. M365 is the whole artifacts running for you from Office 365, from Windows 10, from the graph, from Azure AD, from the extensibility model up to the security model. All of that is actually being consumed, used, and as a new admin, as a cloud admin, you need to understand how those are working. And you know what? Today, and let me take the red pencil, we are actually checking this part of this image. We will see a lot of those enterprise mobility and security capabilities running on top of those artifacts and how we can actually secure our devices, secure our data, secure our environments. Okay, first things first, Azure AD, Azure AD Active Directory, call it as you want to do. Well, it's the core of each Azure subscription. Everything will be stored for you from a user perspective, from an object perspective into there. You can have multiple AAD tenants within the same Azure subscription. And as I mentioned, everything is in there. Users, groups, permissions, domains, licenses, every single artifact you have from your environment will be there. You can manage this through three ways: the portal, PowerShell, and the classic portal. But then you have multiple namings for that, like AAD, AD, AAD Connect, and AAD DS. And let me explain what the difference is. AAD is Azure AD Directory. Then AD is the Active Directory, which is the on-premises part. AAD Connect, which is the tool that you use for the connection. And AAD DS is the Azure AD Directory Services, which is a service that you can use in your Azure, like AD as a service. All of that is capital, and need to understand that Azure AD is the foundation of the cloud because everything is stored into there. But hey, it's not free. Well, basically, yes, it is free. Well, whenever you get your license within the Microsoft ecosystem, well, you get the AAD free, which has a bunch of options. Well, maybe only one. The AAD Basic, which is like $1 per user per month, is a little bit better than the first one, and you get the application proxy and the subservice password reset. The P1 and P2 is way better, but then the price significantly increases per user to $6 up to $9 per month on an annual commitment. I did check for the prices yesterday. I couldn't see any difference between 6 and 9, but maybe for the Indian region or for the Asian region, it could be way different. Is someone talking to me, or did he just unmute himself?
I have muted them. Please continue.
Okay, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thank you so much. So your mission is to protect, as a new admin, the identities, the data, anything you have within the M365 perimeter. And then this is the wonderful slide of Microsoft that they give to you, like, hey, this is security. For the first time when I've seen this was like, oh my gosh, I'm not starting with this. This is so badly done for new admins. This is so badly done. And again, if someone from Microsoft is here, my apologies. But it's not the kind that you want to get if you start with security, right? This looks complex. This looks horrible. And this looks like you'd never want to start with that. What you can see, well, it's quite easy that this is like the client side of stuff. This is your IT side, and this is the cloud side. But even then, this looks like extremely complicated. And then you get people yelling at the cloud like the Simpsons because they're not happy, they don't understand, they don't get how to do stuff and merge stuff. So you have people trying to yell at that. First thing I'd like to share with you is the Secure Score, which is an automated scanner for Office 365 subscriptions and Windows 10 devices in the cloud. You can go through the security.microsoft.com/securescore from the Microsoft 365 Defender portal. It is an analysis of your tenancy with global rules. Those rules are set by Microsoft. It is not your own rules. Microsoft is defining a bunch of them, and if you resolve those rules and apply those best practices in your organization, well, you get scores. And those scores that will actually show you how good or bad you are. It provides you a list of, but it will not fix it for you. You still have to do it as an IT admin. And many of those actually rules or fixes, well, they don't fit in organizations. And one of them, like last year, was to enable a P2 EAD functionality, but I didn't even have a P2 in my environment. Which is nonsense, right? And you have some max scores. I couldn't find the new ones, but this was the latest well known, because what you need to know is that the secure score has been migrated to a new location. It got a new facelift, and I couldn't find the scores, the latest scores for the secure score. But this is the latest known that I know. I've been checking is that the highest score that you can have for Office 365 is 807, and you had 69 actions to do. You get some guidelines for user management, such as MFA, multi-factor authentication, password reset. There is no automated fix. Another bad thing, which I think, is that there is no assignment of tasks within Secure Score. In organization, you are not the only admin. You have a bunch of other admins. It is a bit shamey that you cannot assign a task to a specific team and say like, hey, please resolve this. And the runtime can take up to 48 hours. So it is not because you have resolved a rule or a fix now that your score will become higher now. It can take up to 48 hours to do that. And with M365, as I mentioned, you can also check for Windows, but it needs the Windows Defender ATP. And let me show examples about that. There we go. So when you go to the M365 Defender, on the left side, you have the Secure Score, where we can see actually the new facelifted way of Secure Score. You can see your score herein. My score is 39.17. I can include the planned score, the current license score, or the archivable score. Then what's really interesting is this one. I can see a comparison about my score, the organizations like me, and the custom comparison. What you can do is you can actually manage the comparison, and then you can add some industries to refine it. You can add the organization size. You can check for the licenses and even go for regions. This is really great to know how secure you are in the environment compared to all the organizations which are almost the same as you, right? And then you can see that I still have 12 actions to be addressed. How do you see that? Well, if you go under the improvement actions, well, you can see a bunch of actions, global rules that Microsoft has actually done for me. And I need to address them. As you can see, I have a bunch of those being completed. Those actually score points or score impact, as they call it. Well, they give you the global ratio of your score. I have like a bunch of to do, right? As you can see, I cannot add or delete one. What I can do is, as an example, require MFA for administrative roles. If I hit on that, well, I can change this to plan, to risk accepted, or even resolve through an alternate mitigation, right? You could have a tool which does it without the M365 security model. It gives you how you should implement this. It gives you how to do it. And then when you're done with that, well, you have to wait basically 48 hours, up to 48 hours, to see if this becomes completed. As you can see, you cannot bring this to completed. It is grayed out. If you want to discuss internally with your team about this specific rule, well, you can copy the link, email it, or even add to Microsoft Teams or Planner. And then with Planner, you can now start assigning people and work on that as well. Unfortunately, there is no direct way on adding people from that screen. The only thing you can do is add it to Planner, and from Planner, you can bring up to people. You can see the history of the changes, your score, when you did what, and then the metrics and trends as well to give you actually insights about the security in your environment. Then the second thing, the Cloud App Discovery, my preferred tool that I'm trying to use every single day, because it gives you phenomenal insights about the findings and usage patterns in your organization. You can see the activities monitoring, the files being monitored, the accounts being monitored, and so on and so on. And let me give you an example. I just had once an issue with my environment, and some things had changed, and just with the cloud apps security, well, I could see that, when people are connecting to these devices from the location, from that IP address, and on what they connect. And what you can see is that actually you can go in deep dive and see that Gokan is mainly connecting, but hey, look, application SharePoint or application SharePoint here, well, they also made some connections to OneDrive and to OneDrive and Office and SharePoint. And then what you can see is that maybe some people with this account, Microsoft Service Operator, well, they maybe did delete something or made an update to your app, which actually is causing your app not to work. It is always phenomenal to know who is doing what in your environment so you can know exactly what happened into your environment. So what I will now do is I will show you the Cloud App Discovery in a very fast way, because I really want you that other speakers show you how things are working in deep dive. When you again come into the M365 Defender, you have the Office 365 Cloud Security, where actually you can discover stuff, investigate, and go under the investigation activity log. And now you can even go and say like, okay, I'd like to know everyone from Exchange Online. What did they? And then you can see that Gokan mainly he did a logon on the Exchange service from Belgium with that device on that date. I can even change this from Exchange to Teams, and now basically, and normally I have some other people as well in Teams, and you can see like, okay, what did Gokan definitely do? And you can change a lot of people from here. And what you can see, like Application Insight API, at SharePoint, remember the thing that I showed you, like everyone which has access to your Azure AD, well, basically you can find them and you can use them. I have only like 2 users in my demo environment, my brother and me, but all the others, I have no clue idea. But basically, those are objects that still can do stuff in your environment. The activity type, you know, on the teams, you can see who deleted my team. If you have a team being deleted without any reason, well, you can always come here and see who deleted that team. I can see Gokan did one and one did Microsoft Teams AAD Sync. Or I can even choose for locations and say, okay, that specific action being done in that country. Phenomenal stuff on deep diving into what did what. And then you finally have the alerts. I'm not going to show every single option, but those two are extremely important. You can see a few alerts that's being generated by the tool, which shows you like a few issues, but this one is extremely great. Activity from infrequent country. I was on vacation in June, and directly from Belgium to June, it gives me an error like, hey, Gokan, You connected from Turkey. It's not something that you're using usually. So could you please check if this is true or not? And it shows you the error. Phenomenal tool. You can even apply policies and check for policies. You can enable, disable policies. You can even create your own policy, which is phenomenal because those are the global rules from Microsoft. But if you need some own policies, well, you can do that as well. Okay. This one, the threat management, also being migrated from the security and compliance to the new screen, and you can teach your users to actually not click on anything, to have a brute force password attack, to even show them and teach them to not listen to phishing attacks. And let me show that to you as well. If you come under the M365 Defender, well, you have the attack simulation. If you come here under the simulations, well, you can create any new simulation with when you hit on and do a credential malware attachment, link an attachment, link to malware, or drive by URL, a bunch of options that you can choose from Microsoft. What we will do is we will do a link to malware. If I hit on next, well, you can give a name. Test Gokan. And then hit on next. And now you can even choose from the templates or even create your own template. One that I really like is this one, the approval line for credit. And on the right side, you will see actually the preview of the kind of mail that Office 365 or M365 will send them. You will see the email coming from the source, the theme, etc., etc. You can see the attachments. If this is loading, there we go. There is an attachment, locked up document, and then you can also see the history of the tests being done previously. Okay, I'm choosing for that one. Well, you can even go for DHL, right? I don't really care about which example you choose, but this would be then the DHL Express link, which kind of looks great because it has the logo, but you can see like the yellow, red with this is spam, right? So we will choose for the DHL. And then I hit on next. Well, you can choose to include only specific users by adding them from here, or you can add everyone from the organization. What I will do is I will search for Gokan, or you can even filter from the refinement panel just here. What I will do is I will search for Gokan, hit on enter, and select myself. Add one user, hit on next. You can also, if they hit on that button, provide some trainings. We will not provide any training. We will hit on next. And then you can even, give them a message like, it's okay, you're human, you learn from this. Because if they click on that, you don't want to scare them. And the body can be this. You can definitely change that, up to you. We can launch this simulation, or you can just schedule it. And you can even make it per region time zone ever, like the Indian time zone versus the American time zone. You don't want to send it like every single time. It will just respect the time zones. And this is the day when the simulation will end. Like if the guy or the person didn't click on the link within the 2 days, well, then you can say that this was successful. The guy didn't click on that. What we will do is we will make a test. And now, yesterday it took quite a long to send me the test, so hopefully now this won't be taking so long. So now what we will need to do is go to Outlook and go under the unread and hope within a couple of seconds this one should come here. Unread. Okay, so I'll wait a couple of seconds more. If not, we can check in a couple of minutes back. But basically, you should receive an email from DHL saying, is this in the junk? No, not. I'll have to, there we go. I just got it on my mobile, so there we go. I got the email. So the email comes from the M365 Admin Center, your parcel admin dispatch. And if you hit on that one, well, you will see the message that you got from, that you did actually do in Office ping successful. So the test is working great. And then if you like this one, well, you can submit, and then a real test will be done to those users, and you can check for them. Extremely powerful. Please, please, please do it as well. The DLP, data loss prevention, is also something very important for everyone. You don't want to actually your sensitive information being leaked from the organization. So please try to use this as much as possible because you can identify, monitor, and automatically protect your sensitive information not being sent to everyone. The only bad thing I can say is that this is still not stable with guests. With you can get an email from the Teams channel and send a sensitive email to that email, and that will be replicated to the Teams. I've seen a bunch of stuff still not being 100% stable, but at least it's something. And let me show you how you can do that. If you come again under Microsoft 365 compliance site, well, under the left side, you have the data loss prevention. If you go to the overview, well, it's very simple. It gives you some resources, but under the policies, you can create your own policy. You can hit on create policy, and then it will show you what kind of categories you want to use for that DLP. I like to go for financial because I like to block every single credit card. And I'm near France, so I will choose the friend's financial data. Hit on next. You can give a name and a description. I don't really care for the demo environment. And this is like the most important part. You can choose the locations where that DLP rule should be applied. You can enable, disable some locations as Exchange. You can choose some sites within SharePoint. If you add the custom URL, or you can even choose some sites, and now it will trigger every site you have in the environment, and then you can just select a bunch of them and say, okay, I'd like to add those sites here. Now you have 3 sites. You can even exclude some sites, and you can just even also go to on-premises repositories. If you have gateways, if you have connectors, you can even go there and check for data. What I will do is I will then just, as an example, give you, I'm just doing this on the 3 sides, hitting on next. You can have the template about the credit card number, or you can create and customize your advanced DLP rules. I'm not an expert in those rules. What I will do basically is I will use the out of the box one, but if you want to create your own, here comes the thing. You can add a new rule, and then this is the screen where you can get lost. Is you can add some conditions. If the data contains or file extension is or the property type is, you can add some expectations, you can add some actions, you can notify the users, etc., which is extremely user friendly because with a few clicks you can do it. But my gosh, this is not for me. It's way too difficult. So that's the reason why I use the template one. Then you can say how the info should be connected. Well, this is the card number, the EU card number. It's highly confidential, right? And then you will detect this when with people outside my organization. So if I share this outside, or with only people inside my organization. A credit card information, I think, is when you share this outside the organization. And then this is the protection of the actions, which shows you what to do when you get this this issue. Well, you can appear some tips. We can send the incident by email to the owners, to the SharePoint teams, OneDrive owners. You can send alerts if the DLP rule is matched, and so on and so on. If you hit on next, then you can see and actually customize the access and override settings. An example is if you restrict access or encrypt, well, it gives you a bunch of options on what to do. If the DLP rule is matched, what should you do? Block only people outside the organization, or block everyone? Like, this shouldn't be done, and I'm now blocking the access to that one, and only the content owner, last modifier, and the site owner will continue access. You have a bunch of rules on how you can select the data, right? And then you can test it first. You can turn it right away or keep it off, right? I'm just creating this, and I'll check this, and then you can submit. And voila, in a few clicks, you did create your first DLP rule. And now on the Okay, I just made a mistake. Oh, it's invalid. Okay, so maybe the site doesn't exist anymore, but hey, but very, very quickly, this is how you do actually DLP rules. It is not complicated, but you need to know what you do. It's not something like next, finish. You definitely need to understand what you do in order to have some great DLP rules. Multi-factor authentication, and I see like we have like only 10 minutes left, so I need to speed up. The MFA, I'm pretty sure in the coming sessions, a bunch of people will talk about that. I'm not going to show you how you can enable this and do that, but what I want to show you is that you have multiple ways of MFA. The MFA for Office 365, which gives you a bunch of options. The MFA for Azure AD admins and Azure multi-factor authentication, which gives you every single option that you can use. Again, some are free, some you have to pay for it, but the most important one is this one. Microsoft confirmed, and if I'm not wrong, it was 2018 or 2019, that 99.9% of attacks can be blocked with MFA, meaning that MFA will save your life. MFA will save your organization. You can't imagine what 99.9 means for an organization. And this is like the sentence which shocked me, because they get over 300 million fraudulent sign-in attempts to their cloud services. And I'm not talking about Facebook, Amazon, Google, any other big Apple, like any other big companies. Only Microsoft is getting 300 million every single day. And from the breached accounts, 99.9 of them didn't have MFA. Can you imagine how phenomenal MFA is for an organization? So please also consider using it. I'm gonna just skip that because we have 6 minutes left, so I really want to hurry up. Conditional access for SharePoint. This is something I really love. You get 4 options and within SharePoint, and I'm gonna show you that. The unmanaged devices, you can block people from using SharePoint and access the data if the network location, the device is not good, the network location is from Afghanistan, or the client application is not correct, or if the sign-in is risk. Remember when I got the risk saying that I was in Turkey? Well, then typically you cannot connect to SharePoint. You need to first approve yourself, or the admin should clear that risk before connecting in. Let me show that to you. Basically, it's going to be, I think, easier to show that to you. There you go. Or if you go on the admin center in SharePoint under policies, if you go to the access control, well, you have like 4 options. The unmanaged devices, well, you can enable, disable within a specific license that unmanaged devices cannot access your SharePoint. The idle session sign out is, well, sign out users after X minutes or 1 hour and give users this much notice before signing them out. So this is something that I really love to do in organization as well. If someone goes to take a coffee break and they don't lock their Office 365, well, within 5 minutes or within 15 minutes, well, I think the minimum is 15 minutes here. If I do this, there we go. Within 5 minutes, I can lock them out, sign out, because you never know what's happening and you don't want people access your data. End user friendly, because you have to work with IP ranges, but you can block people coming from specific IP ranges. And it says, please be sure to not lock yourself, because you can copy paste anything, right? One mistake and you won't be able to connect to your SharePoint again. Please be careful. Oh, well, okay, it's cancelled. And then turn off apps that doesn't use modern authentication, such as Office 2010. You can do that as well. Extremely easy to do, extremely valuable as well for the connection to Office 365 SharePoint. Please do it as well. PIM, privileged identity management, fantastic tool within Azure, which gives you actually just-in-time privileged access to do stuff in Azure in an Office 365. You have enforced MFA and you will become admin for a specific time. You can assign people up to 72 hours to do some stuff. It requires approval to be activated, to be honest. So your manager needs to approve that. And you have to give a justification on what you do so people, the other admins, can understand why you do that. You can download the audit history and you can review the access to ensure that still the user needs that access. You have the following scenarios. As a privileged role admin, you can enable approval, you can specify the users, and you can view the requests. As an approver, you can view the pending approvals, approve or reject, and provide justification. And as an eligible user, you can request activation, view the status, and complete the task. Unfortunately, I can't show that to you while I still have the page, but again, it requires a P2 or a P1. I can't remember anymore, but it requires a specific license to show that to you. But you can see your roles, your requests, your approval requests, your review of access, etc., and all of that within the Azure portal under the privileged identity management. But that means that you don't need any admin, a permanent admin. Any user can become a temporary admin and make the changes. How less global admins, how less technology admins, how safer it becomes for you. And PIM helps you with that. Gokan with this end user can become an admin and do a bunch of stuff. And this is how it is. The Azure AD roles, you have the roles, you have a bunch of those roles, and you can add some members to that roles. If you hit on add member, well, you can choose for those members and add them into that screen. And if the job is done, well, you can easily hit on that and then remove that member from PIM. The operations management suite is the system center or in the cloud where you can actually track some capabilities from Azure, M365, and the hybrid workflows. It gives you a lot of information about configuration data, backup info, monitor, and admin activities. Please don't get into the scope that an admin knows what he does. No, a lot of admins does a lot of issues, problems. They just click and don't read, and they're the best for breaking stuff up. It's the cloud admins are the new developers, right? That's how I think. And you need a tool like OMS to understand what they do and how they do. Please also within the Azure, Microsoft Azure portal, try to configure the OMS and see how OMS is working. A bunch of other security tools that you can use, and I see that we have only like 10 minutes left, but the Azure Security Center gives you, again, as the secure score for the Azure side of stuff, all the scores of your tenant, and then you can see the compute and app scores, the storage, etc., and everything that you will resolve, well, it gives you some scores. There we go. The Azure AD Identity Protection, fantastic tool as well, that will give you the following capabilities. You can check for unmanaged apps, users that are not registered for MFA, and the unused admins. This is capital, unused admins. I'm pretty sure in a lot of organizations, well, there are a lot of people still having the admin accesses while they don't need it. And the Azure AD Identity Protection can help you with that and show that to you. It will automatically flag events such as impossible travel times and enforce some actions based on the risks. It will provide an email, and then it will even force you. An example, if you are getting flagged and you have a sign risk policy, well, it can allow you to connect, but then you are challenged to use MFA, or you are blocked the sign in. And you can change with that and play around with that a lot of stuff. The security alert map and the threat intelligence is also something that I really like to check within Azure in my VMs, in my collaboration stack, is to see from where the threats are coming from. And as you can see, from a specific range of IP address or from a specific range of a country, I'm getting a lot of attacks. And as you can see, this is the IP address from that specific attack. So basically what you can do is you can block that range of IP address, and that kind of attacks will stop appearing. This is tremendously well done. In a few clicks, you can see all of those attacks coming from those countries. And also it gives you the highlight of what they try to do with country, with state, the provider name of the attack coming, etc., etc. Always good to know and understand. The Azure Monitor, remember what I said, that the modern cloud admins are the devs of the modern era? Well, the Azure Monitor can help you understand what they do. Every admin and dev doing stuff with the Azure resources, application insight, operation system, Azure resources, Azure subscription, the Azure cost. Well, all of the data will be stored in the Azure Monitor as metrics and logs. And from different tools that you have in Azure, well, you can see what they have been doing. With the application insights, you can check for VM information. With the visualization tools, you can create some Power BI reports and builders. With the analyze, you can, with the log analytics, check what the admin and the dev are doing. Extremely powerful and helpful within Azure if you want to check. And this is like the example from the metrics. You can see some metrics, and from the logs, you can see the logs and, filter through the logs and see what's happening. The cloud discovery is also another tool that I really want to check with you and show you, is that you can discover unmanaged cloud apps, shadow IT. A lot of people, remember, 87% of senior managements are using unmanaged apps in the environment. With that tool, well, you can drop an agent on the workstation and you can see who is using what app. And as you can see from a specific virtual machine, well, they're using Dynamics, but they're also using Acronis, Blackblaze, digitalbucket.net, Vimeo, etc., etc. And then you can take action and enable or disable those tools. That being said, security is a huge part of the M365. From the on-premises part, you have all of those in Office 365, the Secure Score, the Compliance Manager, DLP. On Azure, my gosh, I didn't even show you anything from Azure, but they have such security model, and all of that combined can be used with the Cloud App Security model. From a license perspective, well, you have, as I mentioned, in on-premises, the Azure, the Active Directory, the Advanced Threat Analytics, Azure MFA, Office 365, and Azure, right? This is at no cost, free to be used by everyone. If you have a M365 E3 or an Azure ADP1, well, you can use the blue ones. If you have a Microsoft 365 E5 or a P2, well, you can use red ones, and the green ones are actually the ones that you have for additional costs, like the next generation firewalls or OMS will always be additional cost because you always have a legacy on-premise environment, etc., etc. This is the licensing part. Again, please also check if this info is accurate, because the security, as I mentioned, is changing so fast and so much that at the end you cannot follow the changes. So this was the introduction to the Office 365 security with Configure, Manage, and Monitor, and this is my session code 24696. So please go and rate this session. I really hope that you will all enjoy this session and learn at least something from this session. This is a high-level introduction to the security, and I really hope that the next sessions will go deep dive and show you the real capabilities of all those artifacts. So I'd like to thank you all for joining this session. I promised you to do like 45 minutes, but I've been talking so much. You guys have only 4 minutes left for the next session. So I would say if you have any question, please ask them through the social media, and this is like the hashtag, or you can always follow me on Gokan on Twitter, and I'll be glad to respond to any question you have. Thank you so much. Appreciate your kindness to listening to me for at least 50 minutes, 55 minutes, and I really hope you learned something. Enjoy the event. Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you, Gokan. Thank you, everyone.